Artist and creator Dave Stevens poured his love of the golden age of pulp stories and adventure into every page of The Rocketeer. And that's exactly what made it exciting. And decades later, it still holds that same magic. Today, we're painting The Rocketeer. Welcome back, everyone. This is Art to the Round Table. My name is Mello, and today we're going to dive right into, in my opinion, one of the coolest characters ever created, the Rocketeer. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know I've been spending a lot of time live streaming, drawing, painting, and just connecting with all of you in real time, and it has been amazing, so thank you for that. And if you want to see the full unedited process of this piece, from drawing to inking to painting, be sure to check out the live stream playlist here on the channel. But for now, the tools I'll be using are on the screen. Let's get into it. I really wanted to emphasize speed and intensity for this painting, but I didn't want it to seem far off. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Type of thing. I wanted us to feel the impact, the weight of what it must feel to be propelled through the sky with a rocket attached to your back. I wanted to remain in awe, like we would if we were kids watching a stunt show. I wanted to show what nerves of steel look like. I really wanted to do a lot with this one. And while I'm building up the pose, it's worth understanding where this character came from. The Rocketeer was created in 1982 by artist Dave Stevens. But even though the character was created in the 80s, everything about him felt like it belonged to another era, the golden age of aviation, the 1930s, a time when flight was still dangerous, unpredictable, and new. And Dave Stevens wasn't just creating a superhero, he was paying tribute to the pulp heroes and adventures that inspired him. Characters who didn't rely on powers, just courage. Courage is usually expressed by the action a person takes. And it's also captured by a certain gravity that pulls you into their eyes. So I think I found my composition, and I think I found my second hurdle. How do you show a character's eyes that wears a helmet? So this is what I came up with. The Rocketeer in mid-flight, mid-adventure, and propelling himself towards unseen danger, towards the only person who can make him do such reckless things, the beautiful Betty. We don't know what he just went through, but he is bursting through the page. He's hurtling right at us. We only know this frozen moment in time, as if we've just synchronized with his heartbeat. His exposed eye and battle-damaged helmet is our anchor, bloody from broken shards of glass caused by the impact of a bullet, or Cliff's recklessness introduced him into a wall of thugs. Tears are pooling and pulling away from the extreme force of the wind, but the eye, focused and looking beyond us. Hey, real quick, I wanted to share why I'm using these blue Prismacolor pencils. First, they're fantastic for non-reproductive blue work. Once you ink over them, they don't show up in scans or reproductions. I've been saving a lot of my original pencils, so this first part is really helpful. But beyond that, they've been surprisingly helpful for building up my drawing, especially on these Strathmore Bristol boards. Because of the waxy nature of the Prismacolor pencil, I can blend like a regular pencil, yet layer and build up areas without breaking the surface. It's a really unique experience, and I have to give a big thanks to Rob Norton for suggesting them. Rob is an amazing indie comic creator in his own right. He's made a 6-volume He-Man Masters of the Universe fan comic. He shares tons of insight in his creative process on his live streams, and he reviews comics. So if you haven't checked him out yet, do yourself a favor and do it right now. And while you do that, I think it's time we do some inking. Inking isn't just about cleaning up the drawing, it's about committing to it. Up until now, everything has been flexible. Lines can shift, shapes can change, ideas can evolve. But once the ink hits the page, that's it, you're locking it in. And for this piece, this stage is everything, because this is where I really have to lock down the composition. I knew early on that the eye was going to be the focal point, the anchor for the entire painting. So now the question becomes, how do you drive the viewer's eye to the eye? Every decision I make here has to serve that goal. The angle of the helmet, the direction of the lines, the flow of the jacket. Even the way the shadows wrap around the form, everything has to point forward. Everything has to push toward that one moment. Because if the eye doesn't land there, then the piece doesn't work. So I start thinking in terms of movement, not just where things are, but where they're going. The lines aren't static, they're directional, they're guiding you, pulling you in. And at the same time, I'm pushing the shadows a bit harder, using them to simplify, to eliminate noise, to carve out the shapes that matter. Because with ink, as you know, it's very easy to overdo it, to get lost in the details and lose the impact. So there's a balance here between control and letting it rip. And through it all, I'm being guided by one of the best to ever do it, Dave Stevens. His line work had a kind of confidence to it, clean, deliberate, effortless on the surface. I know it took him forever. From his own words, he was a perfectionist to a fault. But underneath, it was incredibly intentional. He knew exactly when to push a line and when to hold back, when to describe and when to suggest. And that restraint, that control is what gave his work so much power. So as I'm working through this, I'm keeping that in mind. I'm not trying to copy it, but I'm learning from it. I'm letting it inform the decisions, because at the end of the day, the same balance applies here. Say too much and you lose the moment. Say just enough and everything clicks. As this image really starts to take shape, it's impossible not to share how I was introduced to this character. In 1991, the Rocketeer was brought to life in a film by Disney. And while it may not have been a massive blockbuster at the time, it captured something special. The tone, the style, the sense of adventure and spirit. It had the serious silliness of Indiana Jones without all the face melting. It was absolutely awesome to me. And over time, not only does it still stand up, it's become something of a cult classic, because I believe it understood something important. That what stays with you isn't just what you see, it's what you feel, heart, and a sense of wonder. I think that's enough poetic waxing. Let's get to the paint. Alright, the drawing is done. The inks have been fixed in place with a fixative and 2 coats of clear gesso. I've recently decided to add a bit of water into my clear gesso during application onto the paper, this being Bristol, to prevent any warping and to avoid potential smudging. I wanted to preserve a lot of the ink for this painting. One, to capture and pay complete homage to Dave Stevens' inking style, and I wanted to test myself and see if I can remain disciplined during my painting process. I have a tendency to get a bit experimental, both fingers up, and I wanted this one to remain as clean as possible. But all in all, I was so excited to get painting. It really is the moment the whole thing finally ignites. Oh brother, I'm sorry, that was really terrible. So anyway, I'm using a small palette of colors. Blue for the sky, which is quite underwhelming, but it's only meant to keep pushing our hero forward. And as for him and the combustion around him, a ton of warm colors. Yellows, oranges, red, burnt sienna, or ochre. And also did something a bit different here. I was trying to build on the opacity and control my layers. Something I've been watching another artist do amazingly well, Julio Cesar Petrini. His ability to layer gouache with a consistency that is closer to watercolor befuddles my understanding. But I tried that here sparingly, more out of a desire to stay inside of my line art. As I get closer to the end of the painting, the helmet becomes the real challenge, because tonally everything is sitting in a very similar range, and with something like that, it's very easy for it to just disappear, to get lost in itself, and I can't let that happen because the helmet is iconic. It has to read, and it's still meant to frame the eye. So I start making some very intentional choices. I bring in some metallic gouache, artezas, a touch of blue, just enough to suggest reflective surfaces, to give it a bit of life, and then some small hints of gold, not enough to overpower it, just enough that if you were standing in front of the painting, you'd catch it. Those little shifts in color, those subtle changes in surface, that's what's going to keep drawing you in. And if you're enjoying this process so far, if this kind of storytelling and art is something that you enjoy, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and dropping a comment below. It really helps me and the channel grow. And if you'd like to support me and what I do here, you can find me on Instagram, Ko-fi, and on Etsy. All my links are below. Somewhere in all of this, I started to realize, ironically, that my admiration for the Rocketeer wasn't about the rocket. It was about the person willing to launch himself with it. The man inside the helmet, Cliff Secord, wasn't perfect. He's not invincible. He's not even fully in control, but he goes in anyway. And maybe that's what makes this character stick with me. Not the flight, but the decision to take off. And in a lot of ways, that's the creative journey. It's stepping forward without having everything figured out. It's taking risks, trying something new, pushing past hesitation. Because just like this piece, or any for that matter, you don't always know exactly how it's going to turn out. But you move forward anyway, and sometimes that's all it takes. A little boldness, a little courage, and the willingness to see where it leads. Here he is, the Rocketeer. This piece is my tribute to Dave Stevens, the Rocketeer, and to the spirit of pulp adventure. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. God bless you. Love you. Mean it. This is Art to the Round Table. My name is Mello. And until next time, I'll draw you later. Bye-bye.